So welcome everybody to LinkedIn Hump Day Hangouts. Remember, we have two goals. We want to learn how to use LinkedIn and we want to get excited to go for it. The one rule is don't be a jerk and we're going to have some fun. So we always give priority questions to people who are live, and Judy brought up an excellent point a minute ago. So let's talk about that first, and then we can, if anybody else has anything in here live. And Lorraine, if you've got your mic muted, totally cool. I've got my chat open. If you want to throw anything in there, that's totally fine. So Judy brings up a great point about what should we do about VAs? And do you want to just kind of open up your thoughts a little bit on that, Judy? Because I totally know what you're saying, but just for people who are here and not familiar with that, related to LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, happy to. What I struggle now as a business owner is how do I really keep track of everything going on LinkedIn? Because that's where my prospecting is. And I was thinking, and I've been encouraged, that I should delegate some of this stuff. And ideally, you know, I'm looking for somebody that's virtual, that can work anytime. The types of tasks I was thinking of was really, I have a great spreadsheet that I track my connections, but I'm missing opportunities. And I've seen conversations, and we're going to talk about it later with the double inboxes, that just have fallen off my radar. And if I want to really get to know and engage people, I'm missing that too. So I'm thinking a VA, at least for my LinkedIn work, would help me then free up that space and create opportunities for new business if I'm not having to do that, because I'm not doing it. It's not getting done. So let's face it. It's like, you know, it's like static.
And so LinkedIn's so big.
Virtual assistant, by the way, somebody was wondering what VA means.
So there's so much going on LinkedIn, and there's so many things you can do. And if you're using LinkedIn for business development and marketing and lead gen and so many things, for sure, it's like there's so much happening on that one platform. It's really easy for things to fall through the crack, for sure. And I totally feel your pain point. And then when you're introducing the multiple platforms, whether you're using Sales Nav or Recruiter or, you know, anything like that, it gets a little janky. And it's really easy for things to fall through the crack. So.
And also I'm just trying to incorporate HubSpot CRM. And that's a whole nother cluster. So,
absolutely.
Get all this together. I just want one bucket to say, here are my 10 people today to engage with. That's going to make a difference. That's going to move the needle. That's going to help them. That's going to help me, you know, and just a follow up, because we know the fortune is in that follow up, and I'm not doing it.
So the thing we should probably point out right in the beginning is that technically LinkedIn's user agreement, if you share your account, that does violate it. So if you're ever going to go down the VA road, if you choose to do that, just be aware. I mean, but I think that it probably shouldn't be a gray area, but I feel like it kind of is a gray area, you know, for whatever it is worth. I mean, I bet if you read Gmail's user agreement, you're not supposed to share your Gmail login, but people do it all the time for secretaries, you know, and so it's kind of just one of those things where the majority says that going against the rule is maybe acceptable, tolerable. For the tasks that you would want to offload, I think that kind of just depends on what you're doing. You know, some people, and I'd love to hear from you guys here too, thoughts on this. So some people are heavier on sharing content. Some people are heavier on doing messaging. Some people are just recruiting, and they're just boom, 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 and they need to vet people. Some people do all of it. And I think it kind of just depends on what your goals are. What is more top of funnel activity? What's more bottom of funnel activity? What are the skills required for what you want to offload? And what's the like dollar value or Canadian dollar value, Lorraine, on what you'd want to put on those activities? Because there are some things where I don't want to pay someone $20 an hour because it's not worth it, but it needs to be done. So do you hire someone that's a VA in like the Philippines and then pay them $5 an hour, but their English is not great? Like what do you do? So it's almost like you got to break it down into like language. I think language is like the super critical skill to evaluate here, right? Is communicating language, being able to read and understand like business talk, and then breaking what you've been doing down into pieces, associating communication skill level, putting a dollar value on that, and then offloading what, in a cost-effective way, what you don't want to do, so that you can focus on moving the needle.
And there was a matrix I saw somewhere where it helps you figure out what are tasks that anybody can do, what are tasks that need some kind of supervision, what are tasks that only you can do as the business owner.
Yeah.
So you can determine, okay, can't delegate this, definitely delegatable, delegate with instruction. And, you know, and we all have tools now, like we could do screenshot, you know, screen recordings. Say, okay, here's step one, here's step two, you know, the repetitive stuff, just like you do a Zapier, you know,
Yeah.
except it's a person instead of a Zapier, you know, so it's almost like, and I know there's a matrix somewhere, and of course I have it in my Google Drive, and don't even ask where it is. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but anyway, I didn't want to hog the call.
No, it's a really good, it's a good question. And it's so common for people to use VAs. I know it is. What you can do is one big like hesitation that people have is, since it technically violates user agreement, there's two things. There's a security risk handing your professional account over to somebody that you've maybe never met. That's a big deal. There's a security risk there just for your personal security. And then is LinkedIn going to get frustrated? So if you find someone that you trust, a good route, if you want to give someone access to your account, is to use a virtual computer. So for those of you, and I'll just kind of unpack this a little bit in case you want to go down the rabbit hole later, Alice, is a virtual computer is like, it's usually Windows, and you log in and have remote access. You pay monthly, to your host, like you're hosting a website, but you're hosting a partition on a computer. And the cost is usually, I mean, there are different speeds. Like Amazon has some cheaper versions, and you pay by hours. But usually, wherever you're hosting your website, unless it's specific to WordPress, like Flywheel or WP Engine, usually they're going to offer some kind of Windows VPS. And the cost is usually $20 to $40 a month, depending on how fast you want it to be. So the kind of perk there, if you're going to do a VA, is you can log in on that remote computer, and you never have to give the VA your logins. And then if you need to let them go, if for whatever reason you need to cut that person off, then you just change the logins of the VPS. You don't have to deal with changing your account logins. And then if you want someone else to kind of like take a peek in there, you don't have to keep sharing your logins. You just share access to that VPS. So I feel like if you are going to go the route of VA, the VPS is probably the safest route to do it, because like the browser never changes, the IP never changes, you're not logging in and out. It's kind of just like a revolving door, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Awesome.
Yeah. You probably already knew all those things. Thanks for humoring me.
Learning, there's VPNs, and then there's like remote servers. There's, I use TeamShare. With a team, not for LinkedIn, but for other stuff, because we have remote offices. And because, you know, it's interesting too, because so many of us are remotely working now. Yeah. You know, and my business is built on, I run campaigns for other people. I'm in their account. So technically,
for sure.
Turn me over.
Yeah. I get it. I totally get it. Okay. So Amazon it's called an EC2.
Ooh.
This kind of took me a little bit of time to figure out what I'm going to say here. So it's going to take some Googling, but Amazon has EC2. It's like what they call a Windows VPS. And the cost, there's a free tier, but I found the free tier is too slow. It's not good enough. So what I did is I upgraded from the free tier, which is called a micro, to medium. And the cost goes up, but with Amazon and the EC2, you can set a scheduler and only pay by the hours or the amount of resources that you're using. So I have a cron or a scheduler running so that my VPSs turn on at 8 a.m. and turn off at 6 p.m. And then that basically gives you faster VPSs, and you're not paying for it when they're not being used. So I found that to be very helpful.
Awesome. Anyone else on the call using any kind of assistance, virtual?
I'm not.
Okay.
All right, cool. Good question. Good question. William, did you have a question at all? Did you get that worked out where you couldn't message that person? You gone back and forth, you weren't connected?
Yeah, I have a bigger problem. Frankly, I'm learning B2B as opposed to B2C, which is what I've been doing for close to 2 decades.
Yeah.
Um, and the whole model is just incredibly different. So I'm ramping up on that. And frankly, I'm on this because, as I jumped in, I've just gotten some just crazy, fantastic leads, and just trying hard to how to capture them well.
Yeah.
And so everything I'm hearing now is just most of it's just new information. So
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And you're a pro. I'm sure you're a really smart guy.
you're
Just
generous and you're wise. Keep talking, never stop.
yes. You can give me $20 later. Uh, I mean, I just encourage you to, and you probably already know this, but just to like reiterate, even though it's B2B, the valuing the other individual is still super critical. So I feel like, B2C, it puts the emphasis on the C, like the consumer, the individual. And then when you say B2B, there's totally different nuances. But on LinkedIn, you don't connect with companies. On LinkedIn, you connect with individuals. And so what that means is the helpful emphasis that you experience when you're in B2C, because the focus is on let's make the customer happy. It's helpful to take that same value and apply it to the individual that you're talking to at the other business in the B2B sales context. And then because people always, I mean, if you're dealing with a huge transaction, it's all who you know. And do you know that person? Do you like that person? Do you trust that person? And then your name gets put to the top of the list amongst all the other vendors. And you can really earn someone's trust by investing in them at the individual level, kind of like you would B2C, but even though the sale is technically B2B. Makes sense?
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah,
sure.
I think it sounds like you're going to be great at that.
I appreciate it. So
You bet.
it's fun. It's been fun to try it, so.
Very cool. Do you guys want to talk briefly about QR codes? Because I just want to geek out briefly, and I'm going to use my phone because we have to. So I don't know if I was late to the game on this or whatever, but I was just messing around on my phone. I was like, holy smokes, there's a QR code. And so I was digging into it, and I was like, why haven't I never used this before? Oh, yeah, because QR codes were like awesome, and then no one cared anymore. And then Apple brought them built into the phone, and they kind of made a comeback, and LinkedIn added it to the app. And so should you care? Is it a gimmick? So here, I'm just going to go like this. Hopefully it records okay on the camera. So I'm using an iPhone. It might look a little bit different on the app. So like if you go and click this icon here with people, and then there's, I'm doing this backwards. Click that little guy. Whoops. Sorry. This little plus person.
It's a little wonky. Yeah.
And then there's scan QR code. And then the default is, okay, who do you want to scan? We'll talk about that in a second. And then there's my code right there. Okay, so basically what happens is if you scan the code and you put someone else's QR code right in front of it, it takes you immediately to their profile. And so I did this with a few people just for fun. Actually, someone sent me their QR code on a comment, and I was like, ooh, and I just put my phone up to my computer, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, yeah, so I feel like the value prop here is, or actually let's talk about the pain point. When you're at an in real life meeting and you want to keep talking afterwards, and maybe you don't have a business card because they're paper and paper's kind of gone away. I don't know. And then you want to keep having the conversation later, I don't know, or for whatever reason, you can do the QR code, and there's no, okay, what's your name? What company you work? You try to find them on the search, and it's just like, maybe I should have just Googled it and then relied on Google and find you. So the pain point there is it's kind of hard to easily find someone that you want to find that you're standing right next to and your phone is handy. That's the kind of pain point. And I feel like the QR code, the way it helps is it makes it really easy for you to find someone's profile on LinkedIn if you're like right there by them. That's kind of, I mean, you don't have to be there. You could, put your QR code on a car or whatever, but it feels like the biggest value prop is when you're right there together, or maybe you're speaking, like maybe Judy is at an event talking about LinkedIn and she has her slides and she's like, boom, you all probably want to talk to me after this event. Just put your phone up right now and scan my QR code. And then you're standing on the stage and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to turn on your Bluetooth for Find Nearby. And then everyone can be like, oh, that's cool. And then the Find Nearby doesn't let you do a custom request, right? So it's like, here's everybody in the room, connect, which is all right because you get a burst and you're like, okay, they're all at the event. But the QR code is like, oh, cool, I can kind of like view the profile, make sure she's a real deal, click the connect, send the custom message. Anyways, that's maybe one case study where it would be helpful, like for us in our context, if you're at an event speaking, you want to like nurture those leads later on after the event is over and not have to be like, oh crap, I didn't get anybody's email or business cards. I had a friend who is just exiting university in Texas. He said that some of his grad student colleagues, his friends at college, they were adding the QR codes to their resume.
Wow.
And I don't know how effective that is because it's really only a phone thing. So I don't know if that would really do much, but it's an interesting case study.
I like the comments. I like putting it in the comments. I think that's pretty awesome, creative. You know what else I do? If I'm going to an event, I will put something in my phone in my notepad, like a quick, hey, great, glad we met at XYZ event. And this, I can do the personal invite right there on the spot.
Yeah,
because otherwise,
for sure.
You have no idea where you met this person because, it's crazy. I think it's a good tool. I think it's a good, I love showing people and then they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, and they're like, wow, so I'm amazed at how many people don't know about it. So it's good.
Yeah. And if you use LinkedIn a lot for your business connection, and so like the difference, you've got email, which is cool, but email is really just back and forth, right? Which is great, good for communication. But you kind of don't have that auxiliary benefit of, someone's bored and they go onto LinkedIn and you're in there in the news feed, and that can help you stay top of mind. And maybe if you're sharing something that's valuable to them, just to help them view you as a thought leader and stay top of mind, that benefit doesn't happen with email. So if you're using LinkedIn a lot and maybe you're like at a trade show even, or anywhere where you're going to meet and then leave, and then maybe leave that person with print material, that might be a good place for the code too, because the email is going to be on there, but I feel like it's just a little different to go, oh yeah, let's kind of creep this person on LinkedIn a little bit. And then it's like you get more hooks in them in a non, I'm going to eat you way. More hooks. I grew up fishing. So there you go. All right, cool. Excellent. Okay. Anything else on that before we move on?
No, thanks.
Okay, cool. I want to talk briefly about out of network, which I like the acronym OON, OON, out of network,
Right.
because I find a lot of people, they don't realize that you cannot just connect with anybody on LinkedIn, and it's more painful when you're first getting started and your network is small. So you'll be doing a search, you try to find someone, and it'll say like view member, or like profile unavailable, and they're more than a third-degree connection. And if you're on Sales Nav, it'll let you unlock like 25, I think, a month if you're on Pro, and then more if you're on the more expensive plans. But just so if I get asked occasionally, like, why can't I view this person's profile? Like, is it their setting? Am I in trouble? It's usually just because they're out of network. They're beyond third degree. So it has implications for example, like who do you connect with? Sometimes connecting with certain individuals are actually more beneficial for your networking. You might be at an event and love some person, you connect on LinkedIn, they have 10 connections, and you still have a lot of people out of network. You connect with somebody else and they have a really big network, and just being connected with them unlocks a lot of people for you that you may have otherwise been unable to, connect with, that kind of thing. So I think depending on what kind of business you have, a good strategy is connecting with industry leaders and local leaders. I feel like those are the two kind of doorways that really help you get access to the people that you would normally want to talk to anyways. And you can't see exactly how many connections someone has, especially pre-connect. So it'll tell you like a number and then it'll stop at like 500 plus. So it gives you just, do you remember, Judy? It's like, does it say like 50 plus, 100 plus, and then 500? Is that the little gray icon before you connect?
One little hack is if they're active, look at how many followers they have. And generally the followers are pretty close to their connections.
That's genius, Judy. That makes total sense. I've never even thought about that.
I heard it from you.
You're a genius. No, that's so
No.
true. That's so true.
If they're active, you can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you click on their connections and it's open, you may be able to see, I guess, the 500. But that is a really good thing. I mean, I don't only connect with people with large networks.
Yeah.
I try to really focus on people that are active.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just a number, you know.
For sure. Yeah, and
why groups are good, because if you join groups for only to have proximity and no other purpose, then they're in your network. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good workaround. And if you are connected with somebody already, you can, if they have their settings set, you can view their first degree connections, you know, but that's an account setting, but you have to be connected with them. So you can kind of evaluate that. But beforehand, the followers, that's a really good hack. That's really good. One thing I do with, by the way, viewing the connections is warm introductions are really good, you know, and if I'm going to meet with somebody, I'll look at who they are connected to. That's my second degree that meets my target. So I'll do like a Boolean string in the free version of LinkedIn, and it'll come up, and then I'll ask them, or I'll look at who we're both connected to and then say, who do you really know?
Yeah,
usually
for sure.
10%, maybe 20%. And, you know, I'm guilty of that too. And that's why I go to a lot of conferences now, because I want to meet everyone in real life and get a selfie. And one day I'll meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. What town are you in again?
I'm in New York City.
Oh yeah. I was there like a year-ish ago. We did a stint in Times Square. It's fun.
Oh, nice.
It's a little bit crazy.
I'm actually based out in Port Washington on the water here. I go into the city on demand.
Very cool. All right. I got a question that came in from a guy named Assad. So check this out. He goes, can I republish my LinkedIn Pulse article? So a couple thoughts on that. In Pulse, you cannot like draft an article and then republish it like you would maybe in your website CMS. So you can't do that. If you wanted to republish, you would have to delete it and then republish it. So it's kind of inconvenient there. But I read an article where a guy, he did this, and he actually had, like, he kept track of the impressions and engagements and stuff, which I should have saved the link. I don't remember. You might be able to find it. But what he did is he created a Pulse article. I assume it was like pretty well done. And he published it, let it sit for a couple days, and then he deleted it. And then he published the same content again. And then he said it was getting more and more traction. Because people are interacting with your content, and it's just, I don't even know. Maybe it's like a workaround, because instead of creating more awesome material, which takes a lot of time and energy, just recycling it. So he said that he actually got more engagement as it went on, and then it kind of plateaued off. I forget how many times he republished it. But I think that that might have been cool to see the numbers go up. But I think that there's a potential for bad member experience there, because if I'm repeatedly seeing the same article being published, I'm like, oh, that's so dumb. Like I saw that like 3 times already, right? Or if I liked it or commented on it and it gets republished, my contribution's gone, and it's still showing up in my newsfeed. So that, I feel like that could create some blowback there. But if your goal is to find like a workaround hack for more impressions and engagement, that it could be a solution to a degree. I've never personally done it, but you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I know what I do. When I publish a post article, I'll then publish an update. And I won't link to the article because we know where that goes. But I'll put comments. But it's a way of, because I look at it this way, the post lives with your profile. So it's kind of like a catalog of your content, whereas an update is like a tweet. It just it's there and it's gone. And really, I think only 5 or 10% of your network even sees your stuff. Because there's people I'm following, I don't see their stuff. And someone sent me a text yesterday, said, hey, did you see what Q's doing? And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I went to his feed and say, wow, you're doing this great stuff. Why am I not seeing this in my feed?
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. The algorithm is a weird animal. And, you know, there's some AI behind it. And then there's some human, you know, manipulation behind it. So I think at the end of the day, it's about producing really valuable content instead of trying to game the system.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. You know, one thing that I've been doing more and more is, okay, so what was it like last year where Sales Nav introduced notifications for saved leads? I always thought it was weird when you go to the homepage before they started putting stuff in there, it was like empty. I'm like, this is the most dumb homepage ever. You go to the normal LinkedIn homepage and there's like stuff everywhere, and you go to the Sales Nav homepage and it's like, hey, where else do you want to go? Because there's a big empty blue screen. I'm like, okay. So anyways, they're like, I guess they had plans and they just hadn't pushed all of the dev stuff. Anyway, so Sales Nav does notifications for saved leads, including when they share something. And so what I found helpful is, like, there's only so many people that I can focus on.
Yeah.
And there are different types of people that you focus on based off of what you want to, you know, based off of your relationship. So I've got people that I really want to know what's going on with them just because they're my friends. Some of them are just because for like my personal business development, has nothing to do with leads. Some groups are lead focused, right? But I want to know what's going on with those guys and not what's going on with a lot of other stuff. And my pain point, if I'm going through the news feed and I want to kind of check in with the people that I care about, I just don't have much control on what I see in the news feed. So what Sales Nav does is, if you save someone for whatever reason that would be, they'll tell you when your saved person shared something, and you can click a view link and go there. So I feel like that helps cut down on the noise so that you can focus on the people and what they're doing that you actually want to, instead of having to like go through the junk drawer of the news feed.
Okay, I'm going to give you another hack. You ready?
Go for it. Yeah,
okay. You know, if you look at someone's posts and activity, right? So when you're looking at their profile, you can see what's their activity, what's their posts, what's their articles. When you click on that post, copy that URL and throw it into a folder, and then put a shortcut in your Chrome or whatever browser you're using. And that brings you right to the feeds. So if you put like, here are the 10 people I want to engage with, you know, the people that are really, you know, important in whatever my goals are, you can easily just get to their updates.
Oh, so like you mean /details/ recent activity /post?
Yep. And throw them in Chrome, you can drag that little lock, pull that out onto your desktop. That creates a shortcut. And then I put the shortcut in a folder, and then I bookmark the folder.
That's a good idea.
I'm just able to tap it. Bryn Tillman taught me that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and it was just so easy because I find there's a lot of noise, and I'm saving things in Navigator for different reasons. Like I create lists now, lead lists. So it might be like, you know, New York City speakers, or, you know, I just did inbound. So inbound speakers or whatever, you know, whatever vertical. But by having like my engagement, you know, who I want to engage with and really focus on that, then I can just go through boom, 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 and look at what they're doing and engage accordingly. So credit.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. You can put it in like a Google Sheet. And just, that's a good idea. That's a great idea.
And then just bookmark it. And then, because I have like, you know, little bunch of folders in my bookmark thing on my browser. And it's just so easy now. I just click on it, it's right there. That's
a great tip, Judy.
I'm just filled with them. But give credit where it's due. Bryn came up with that one. You know, I tried it. Like Joe Applebaum is great with hacks, and Bryn has a lot of hacks. So yeah, I just I like to, you know, share them.
Very cool. I think the one downside to that would be I don't want to open a tab if there's no recent activity, right? I guess if they're really active, then that's not going to be a pain point. But I do like the saved lead notifications. You're going to hit a point in there too, though, where it's like if you save enough people, you're going to have the same thing where it's like, oh, there's so much to deal with. So there's a sweet spot. I think in Sales Nav, you're cut off at saving 1,500 leads.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's the cutoff.
Okay.
And I think they do that because there's development resources that they have to, like server resources for all that kind of thing. And then I don't honestly know how you could stay on top of more than 1,500 real leads, anyways, yeah. You guys want to talk about, Judy, this was from last week. We totally didn't get to it. I missed it. Some of the thoughts on the dual inboxes. We touched on this earlier. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
That's going to take me down.
That is take you
down. Well, here's the deal is, they're two separate platforms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sales was an acquisition. So, and I talked to the people at LinkedIn at Inbound in Boston, and I said, what's up with the two boxes? And this is what they told me. Well, in Sales Navigator, that's business development. So we keep it all there. And in LinkedIn, that's your personal. And I looked at them and I said, there is no personal on LinkedIn. It's a B2B platform. And so what's happening is if you engage and initiate a connection in Navigator, that conversation stays in Navigator, okay? If you open their profile in a regular LinkedIn and invite them there, then that conversation goes into regular. There's a couple of things to be aware of. Number one, if you stop paying for Navigator, all that information is gone.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's it. LinkedIn, it always remains on LinkedIn, whether or not you pay, it stays there.
Yep.
The second thing is there's some issues about, a discussion came up about companies that are paying their biz dev teams. They're paying for their Navigator enterprise accounts. And they want to keep those leads. They want to keep those prospects. They don't want it to stay with the employee. So that was another reason to keep those conversations in Navigator, because then the corporation or whoever's paying for it owns that, whatever.
That is an interesting take on it.
Yeah, and then I was like, whoa, because I have one client that's on the Teams enterprise, and it's like a big, and they share their networks, and it really, the company is paying for it, and they own it, and so to speak. I don't know if that goes, in the terms of service, whatever. But I think there's a way to manage it. What I've been doing is I'm trying not to invite in Navigator. So that's one thing. Number two, if there is a conversation in Navigator, I'm copying it, as awkward as it looks, but I'm copying.
I've done that before. Yeah.
Yeah. And putting it into the regular LinkedIn. And, it's just a matter of archiving what conversations I initiate, so that anything new shows up. But it really, I don't know if somebody has a better way of doing it, because it has taken me down. I have lost opportunities. I have stuff in there from like July, and it's like, oh my gosh, I never responded. Who knew?
Yep. Well, and also when somebody approaches you that might be a lead or business development, right? It doesn't go into Sales Nav,
right?
Which I find to be a pain point too, because I think it's nice and easy to say, yeah, there are two platforms for two different things, but the user experience, the user interface is not built to truly facilitate that. I've never heard anyone say that they like having two inboxes.
Yeah.
I've heard people say they like one or the other more, but I've never heard someone say they appreciate having two. So I'll tell you one thing though. Yeah. I'm gonna share this. I took a screenshot because other than the actual user experience on the platform, now this is going to be kind of lame because I'm not a graphic designer, but you guys see this?
Ah, okay.
So here's what happens when you send a message from the Sales Navigator inbox that is not an in-mail, just a normal message. LinkedIn treats it like an in-mail.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and there are points where this makes sense and where it doesn't. So like this is a screenshot of the email that gets sent out as the email notification between the two. So the one on the left is I've received a message from this person and it's being sent through Sales Nav.
Wow.
Like this person that on the left, they don't have a Sales Nav account, Only I do, but I am talking back and forth through Sales Nav.
So you initiated that relationship in Nav, and
Yep.
that's staying there. Whereas AJ on the right there is
Mm-hmm.
a regular. I know who he is.
Yep. A little privacy.
That's very interesting. You know,
Yeah.
that's interesting. One thing I wanted to say is I get notifications on my phone with LinkedIn. Now there is a Sales Nav app,
Yeah.
but
And they don't go back and forth.
No. So it's like, here's an example of a beautiful company working in multiple silos where the left hand is not talking to the right hand.
Yep.
This is, wow, this is stunning.
Yeah, it's interesting. So what I like about messaging in Sales Nav, as far as the email communication side, is my message is for sure received.
Mhm.
You know, like so they notice that if I'm saying something that they care about, I like that.
Yeah.
If you're using the normal inbox and it says view message, it's like if you're doing crappy messaging, you can kind of get away with it because it's like, oh, what does that say? I'm kind of curious. But if your messaging is subpar and it's right there in the email, they are not going to reply at all.
Yeah.
So there's more detail in the Sales Nav communication, but the call to action is a little bit different. So I don't know that there's a one size fits all here, but if you're having intentional conversations, I like that I know my messages is seen before they get to LinkedIn and that they can just click reply and they know exactly where we're going. I like that.
I miss the old days when LinkedIn, you could say where you met the person, you could set even a prompt that would come back like a snooze, and that would remind you to engage with them again. It would show your entire conversation. Those were the good old days of LinkedIn back in 2012, maybe.
Those were the good old days.
The good old days.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I get it. They're trying. I just wish that there was a better way. Like, I wish I could prioritize messages, like maybe put a star on them, so really important ones. Because all I do now is I archive.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Into my management, and I leave ones on red that I need to address, and that's a heck of a sloppy way of managing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So I ask them every time, please fix the inbox. I don't care about emojis and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Fix the inbox.
Yeah, the ability to, like, I would love to see two improvements here. What you just said, I would like to see I'd like to have a way to add a label or some kind of organization, just like you can do with the network through tagging or whatever, where you can organize people. I would like to be able to group conversations that way through an inbox. I would just love that. I would also like to see the ability to tag someone in the messaging inbox. Because if I've been trying to get a hold of someone and they've been a no reply and then suddenly they talk to me, it's just an extra click to open the profile, to view it and update the tag. And it's not the end of the world, but it's kind of like, I wish you could do it from there. That'd be so cool.
Well, we should create the perfect world.
Yes.
Put it out there. And then the best way to reach LinkedIn is on Twitter. LinkedIn.
Yes.
Because I find that when I put help on the LinkedIn platform, it goes to some offshore outsourced. They don't even so LinkedIn help on Twitter. That's how they're
using VAs. Okay. So I've got one more that I want to. Two more that I want to go over, and these are pretty short. So John asked me, what happens if you take the skill quiz assessment on LinkedIn and then you fail? So for those of you who are not familiar with the skill quiz or skill assessment, this is a newer thing, and the list of tests that you can take is mostly related, the last time that I checked the list, is mostly related to web development, where it's, like an actual test. It's tough to give someone a skill quiz where you're evaluating their skills as a writer or something more intangible like that. But most of them are web dev related right now. And if you take it and you pass, you get a little badge on your profile. And the idea there is, I think, twofold. Number one, and they say this right there by the skill quiz, they say that it's helpful for recruiters, because I find that, and I'm sure they find that too, like LinkedIn, you can say I have this skill, and then people can endorse you for a skill. but people can just pay for skill endorsements from fake profiles, and people just kind of go through it and do it to stay top of mind. And the actual skill, the number on your skill that you've chosen that people have endorsed, I feel like that's not very accurate. It's like, okay, but it's not really reliable because of the automation and pay to play stuff that goes on out there. So taking the actual skill quiz is a way for recruiters. So two groups. Number one, recruiters go, okay, this person actually knows what they're talking about, at least enough to pass the skill quiz assessment. And then, so if they're wanting to place you, they know they don't have to ask you, you know. The second thing is if somebody is wanting to either work with you, like maybe you're a freelancer, or if they wanted to hire you themselves without a recruiter, then they'll know that you have at least a certain level of that skill. So that's kind of what the skill quiz, skill assessment is in a nutshell. Here's the deal. If you fail, and I feel like this is almost like really LinkedIn, if you fail, they won't put it on your profile. Like Isaac failed at MongoDB. Oh, what a loser. If you fail at the skill quiz, they won't put it on your profile, but you have to wait, I think it's 3 months, and then you can retake it one more time.
Wow.
Yeah, so really, it's really intense. And it's more intense than you think. So I think that's what they're kind of going for is LinkedIn's going, I want to be a trustworthy platform where someone says that they do this, we want to like actually maintain LinkedIn's reputation that it's true. And so I think that's why they're kind of intense about it. And yeah, so what you might want to do is if what you do is eligible for the skill quiz, you might want to do like a screen recording while you take it. Because if you fail, I don't know that the same questions would be asked, but at least you have an idea of what to expect. So that might be something you want to do, or take screenshots. But you don't have a lot of time to go through it. It's like 15, 20 minutes. So if you're going to do that, be aware. If you pass, good job, pat yourself on the back. And if you fail, you got one more shot in 3 months. So maybe take screenshots or video recording along the way. Anybody else have anything on that?
Just one thing to add, LinkedIn Learning, which was Linda, and now LinkedIn Learning. I think it's $30. It used to be free with Nav, but now it's $30. I noticed a lot of people are getting certifications.
Yeah.
And they're using the LinkedIn logo.
Yes. I did that just to see what happened. I totally did that.
Yeah. And it's actually pretty interesting to go through some of those programs because there's a lot of really interesting, lessons, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think that also adds, and again, if you do it for 1 month when you know you have the time to focus and just dive in deep and then shut it down, you spend $30 and you get some really cool credentials. So that's the other thing too is if you want to set yourself apart, you can respond to some of the comments on some of the courses there. So if you look at some of the courses and you look at the comments there, like pick one on anything. Pick one on anything.
So really quick, I just want to point out, so there's Linda, and there is still LinkedIn Learning. I was just looking at this morning. It's like there's two categories of learning. Mm-hmm. So I don't pay for Linda. This is just Sales Nav. Mm-hmm. And there's some stuff that you can go through. So go through and engage with the comments here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a really, and what that happens is it shows up in your profile. So it's nice. And you see the Q&A, like look at those Q&As, those 31s. That's a great opportunity if you want to set yourself apart. And then that goes back into your feed. You can answer the questions.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember questions back in the day when LinkedIn was great? Remember that? Where there was the Q&A platform? Do you remember? There used to be a Q&A. It was kind of like Quora. It was like Quora.
I don't remember. No.
Yeah, this was, I'm going to say around 2010, 2012, because I got into LinkedIn in 2009. And so it was then, probably 2012 was a high point. But yeah, you used to be able to put out a question and then, establish your thought leadership. And so it's a good thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if there's just too much self-promotion going on with the Q&A. I wonder if that's why they ditched it. Yeah.
Of course. And they haven't been able to monetize it where like I get Lynda free because I'm a member of the library. Most libraries will give you lynda.com for free.
Cool.
Yeah. But LinkedIn Learning is kind of a fun thing to actually then get that credential and get the, screenshot of the certificate. Just kind of a vanity metric.
For sure. Yeah. And I feel like it's totally an easy way to piggyback, make yourself look like, hey, LinkedIn approves. It's like, for sure.
Get that from LinkedIn. I asked a few people.
Yeah.
It's like, I did it through LinkedIn Learning. It's like, oh.
Yeah, when you finish the course, there's a button you push where it just adds it, and then it's
Yeah,
the
and you
company
get a
page
certificate
logo.
too.
Hmm.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get an actual
it's cool.
document.
It's very cool.
Hang those on the
Yeah.
wall. On the wall behind me.
Yep. Very cool. All right. Was that the last question? Or was there one more?
One more.
Oh, yes. Okay. Liesel. Hey, buddy. She says, do you consider it to be rude sending and receiving messages during the weekend? Really good question. Is it okay? You probably get opinions on both sides of the fence on this one. I think it kind of depends on how well you know the person and what you're asking. You know, I think smaller one-man show freelancers, they're okay with working after hours on weekends. If you're an employee of a company and you check in, check out, don't talk to me about work after 5 or on the weekends. If you're asking a favor of someone and you don't really know them, probably not best to send it after hours, unless again they like actually know you, like you, trust you, and you've got that relationship equity to like do that. So it's kind of a relational thing, and their role in the company, I feel like is kind of the guiding values there. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Question about caps on sending out invitations.
Yeah.
I did it while I was watching the Chiefs game, and I've done it during the day as well. And I've even had days where they're like, "Hey, you hit your max," but it seemed like on the weekend or Sunday, I mean, I was firing stuff out there left and right, and I never hit that max. Do they open it up more on the weekends?
I don't think that there's an invite quantity that changes daily. Not that I'm aware of. Are you aware of anything on that, Judy?
No, but I'll tell you a couple of things that I've observed from the messaging. One is, first of all, if you're observant and you Shabbat, and so between Friday and Saturday, I usually respect that for my clients because, it's like no electronics. Sunday is awesome. I get so many messages and so much engagement on Sunday because it's like I'm not distracted by all the work stuff. So I think Sunday is awesome. I find some of my clients will respond to messages late at night because that's the time they have to do that, because they're running their business during the day. So it really depends on who you're talking to. And honestly, if someone doesn't want to respond, they'll get to it when they get to it. Doesn't matter when you send it. I don't look at someone and say, oh my gosh, because I see things like, oh, he responded at 2 a.m. It's like, okay, whatever, if that's how you're doing it. But I really think it's up to people if they get the notifications or don't, because everyone can self-regulate how they get notified. I just do it and see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't think there's although I do respect the Friday sundown to Saturday, sundown. That is like and I'm not Orthodox, but a lot of my clients are. So, that's just something to be aware of. But other than that, no, I just say do it when you can do it. And then, people can consume it however they want.
Yeah, I think as long as your expectation is not, you need to answer me now after hours, I think that you're okay. So I don't think it's bad to send it after hours. I think that if you get like let down and cynical because people aren't proactively talking to you after hours, that's balls in your court there where you probably were offended and you didn't need to be. Yeah. And I think Sunday.
You can see that little green thing if they have that visible, the green circle. So okay, they're on mobile now. So then you get really buggy if they don't respond. It's like, oh, are you ghosting?
They saw it. Yeah, they're ghosting me.
You're ghosting me.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, owning a company Sunday, I'm kind of mentally getting back in the groove. I'm even Sunday evening, I'm thinking about tomorrow, wanting to plan ahead so that I can be organized Monday. And I don't mind knocking out a couple things Sunday evening. But when I was an employee, I was like, Sunday, not going to do anything. They're going to get as little out of me as possible. And that's just expectations, I think, is the big thing there. But William, yeah, I don't, to my knowledge, there's not an invite count that changes based off of weekday or weekend or days. I'll tell you what I read, I stumbled upon this accidentally. There's the I don't know you, or the IDK penalty box, right? Where if you get probably 5, though I haven't read anything official, I don't know yous, then you have to add an email to invite, and then they were in the past, they would lift the penalty, and if it happens again, then it would be permanent. So I was bunny trailing on the documentation, and I saw that had been updated. So actually, here, let me see if I can find the link, because I was totally shocked about this. Basically, I'm not even gonna botch it. Give me 1 second. 1 second.
Yeah, I got put in LinkedIn jail recently because of that. And I wrote to them and I said, hey, I'm one of the good guys here. I'm not spamming people. I don't know how that got marked, but it's like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And then we're really sorry, and then they lifted it. But yeah, I don't know, it happens.
Well, yeah. And I think it's not such a great idea. Here, let me share my screen.
You know what I do with invites? If people don't have any context, or if I don't know them and they write, it looks like it's automated. That's why my name starts with a lowercase j, so I can see who's using AI and scraping the first name field.
Mm-hmm.
If they do that, I'll usually respond to the message, and I think you talked about that in a previous session there. I will respond to it and say, hey, can you refresh my memory? Where did we meet? How can I be of help to you? And then if they don't respond, I'll give them a week. Then I'll ignore it and say, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think that people realize that when they say, I don't know this person, even if it's real well written, some people are just more guarded. I'll read through the highlight there in a second. Some people are just more guarded, and they're like, I don't want to connect with anybody that I don't know because of, for whatever reason. They're just maybe not big into networking, more introverted, whatever. And if they click, I don't know you, they don't realize that they just took like 20%. It's like,
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be intense, but it was. Anyway, so this is what I saw that was updated. So what to do if you're restricted from sending more invites? If you're restricted from sending invites, try the following solutions. First restriction, wait a few hours. Try again. Multiple restrictions a day, wait a few days. Note, most restrictions will be automatically removed within a few days.
Wow.
That was new. And I was like, really? And then they have try withdrawing all pending because there's a count where if you have too many pending, they'll just say you need to stop until you withdraw some. But that was new. Most restrictions will automatically be removed in a few days. So that's new. I wonder if they made a change because of that pain point where it's like, I wasn't doing anything wrong. Like someone just marked, I don't know you. Maybe they didn't, maybe they did, maybe whatever. It's just, it seems like now it's more of on a rolling basis.
That's really interesting.
It is. And I don't even know if it's the same, if it's the I don't know yous that trigger that, but the automatic application and automatic removal, that was new. And I found that very interesting. And I like it because if this is like replacing the I don't know you jail, I like that because you can be a good player and someone can still click I don't know you. And I mean, if you use LinkedIn for 10, 20 years, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But if it's automatic, I like that if you're a good player, but I feel like if you're the kind of person who's going to be spamming, then that can assist you there, if you're doing auto invites, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so, it's interesting. Like I'll do, say, because I went to a few conferences, so I looked at all the speakers and I reached out to connect with them. They don't know me, right? So technically they could have reported me. But then once we connected, then I was able to follow up. But what's interesting here is the other thing is about, again, back in the day, they used to have a checkbox, how you knew this person. Remember?
I do remember that.
You could say, you went to school together or, you worked together or whatever. And I really, again, wish that the default wasn't generic. Because to me, that's like, why would anyone do that? And sometimes I do it by accident. It's like, no, I can't.
Especially on your phone, right? On your phone, you're like, oh yeah, connect. Oh no, I don't want to send a note. What are you doing? Yeah.
So yeah, I just wish that, if they were going to have sort of penalties, that they then make it a little bit more, that you actually have to take the time to say the context.
Yeah.
So, instead of making it, accidentally sending these things out. So yeah. Isaac, you rock. This is great. I just love this. Great forum.
Thanks. So I think that's changed, something to be aware of. And I've met a few people, so if you're a service provider, people come to you with all kinds of mixed bags of problems. There's been a lot of people where they're like, yeah, I want to do LinkedIn. And now I've just learned, I'm like, you tell me right up front, do you have an account penalty? Like, and so I'm wondering if you had in the past had a penalty, if that's changed for you now. I don't know. I don't have access to anybody. I could probably message someone, but
I think I'm at risk of being put in jail. I don't know how that happens, but I'm one of the bad guys who's spamming. So
well,
I got something.
So let's do coffee, and I'll give you some pro tips, and you'll do great.
Thank you very much.
Just mention that you're in Kansas City. Mention that you love Patty Mahomes. Nobody will be mean to you.
Are you in Kansas City?
I am in Kansas City. Yeah.
You know Monty?
I said Patty Mahomes, which is the Chiefs quarterback. Who's Monty? Monty.
He's another LinkedDn guy.
Monty.
It's like when I see him in New York, they're like, "Do you know Joe? You know, whatever." And it's like, "You know Joe?"
It's a small world.
Joe is, yeah. But I love Kansas City. I've been through there. I love the dry barbecue. Really good.
We do have some good barbecue. Some good scenery. A lot of mosquitoes outside of town. Lots of limestone.
Get around. We got nasty little things. So, well, good. Say hi to Katie. Yeah.
All right, I will. All right, well, good job, guys. Thanks for being awesome. Thanks for being here. Anything that are you gonna be let down if you didn't say it? Now is your last chance.
Thanks for your help, guys.
Yeah, guys. All right, see y'all later. Have a great week.
You too. Bye.